We're here that for Ignite Spatial Northern Colorado 1, you all remember Steve Cloud coming and talking about OpenStreetMap? Coast, excuse me. Steve's now with Cloud Name, that's where I got tripped up. Thank you, David, for furthering that. Next we have Kas. For those of you who are here at the first one, Kas was speaking as well about airplane crashes, which I found very interesting myself. Kas is back with us again. He graduated from the Colorado School of Mines down in Golden with a degree in metallurgy and materials engineering. He worked with his brothers in Kansas for a design and engineering company and hightailed it to California at the beginning of the decade and spent 2 years building aircraft. After that, he moved back to Denver in 2008 and started working for himself again, specializing in data visualization. Take it away, Kas.
So I came here to tell you about using timestamps in KML. And I started out wanting to focus just on that. I realized I better give you a little bit of history about KML so you can understand it and feel comfortable using timestamps. First of all, I'd love to connect with you guys on the internet. You can look me up, just type in Exosphere 3D, you'll find me. I love visualizing data. As you can see here, I have an animation of oil and gas wells in an area of Kansas. And with time, patterns reveal themselves in data, and that's very intriguing to me. Keyhole was a company started back in 2001. They were later bought out in 2004 by Google, and their technology, KML language, became Google Earth. And that's what we're going to talk about. Let's learn the fundamentals of what is KML. It is an ASCII file. You can type it on Notepad, any word processor. It's very simple to write. It uses a tag structure to put information into the file. All you got to do is figure out what the tags are. It's pretty simple. Here's a fundamental place mark, the smallest one that you can write up. Inside of the KML tags, we've got a place mark. It's called a point, and it's got coordinates, latitude and longitude. Very, very simple. I can take all the carriage returns out of that, Google Earth or ArcGIS Explorer, they don't care. It looks just like that, they'll still read it. A case in point, be sure to look for capital and small letters, you're getting strange errors like that written in Chinese. I don't know why they did that, but. Now, we can take that little place mark and we can add some metadata to it with a timestamp tag. And that makes the point occur at a given point in time. When we load that into Google Earth, we get the time slider. We can also use a time span tag, where we can tell Google Earth or ArcGIS when the data point was born and when it dies. And that gives us more flexibility with displaying our data sets. We also get the time slider when we load that in. If we take a couple place marks and just enclose them inside of a document tag structure, we can load however many points we want into a KML file. Now it gets pretty tedious to copy, paste, and go in and edit information, so you can actually just use a spreadsheet. I've got lat, long, time, and name here for some fictitious data. And I've used the concatenate feature in a spreadsheet just to write up my strings. It's really pretty simple stuff. I copy paste those text cells and put them into a file, name it a .kml, load it in Google Earth, and there's what I get. I get to reveal the time nature of my data set. So that can get pretty tedious with large files. If you're really hardcore, you can write some code. And I've actually done that. I've got a little program I wrote in Visual Studio.
Looks like Dave Bauman.
So I wrote a program to do that in Visual Studio, and sometimes I do use spreadsheet method. I've loaded up to 300,000 points in a KML. Keep out all the metadata when you do that. It'll bog it down a lot. And now, we can also overlay images, rasters. All we have to do is call them out by name and give a north, south, east, west boundary in decimal degrees. And we can use pretty much any image format. Now, here is a sample where I'm going to show you an animation in a second of about 6 to 8 overlays. The first one here actually happens today at 5:30. It was when I parked my car out in the parking lot. And we're going to see a time animation from there till 10 tonight. This is the plume of enlightenment for NOCO 2. This is me arriving in the parking lot. Of course, when we have the big explosion, that's right now when I'm giving my speech. And the last slide is, of course, predictive at 10 o'clock when we all leave. tips about raster overlays. Any image format works pretty well. Remember, GIFs and PNGs, you can use transparency, which is pretty helpful. Cropping and geographic, WGS84 for your datum. If you want to package that for other people to see, take your KML file and all the images and put them in one zip. Then you can FTP, email, whatever, and anybody can open that in Google Earth or ArcGIS. You can actually screen capture, copy paste in Photoshop and create animated GIFs. That's how I did these. Windows Media Encoder actually has a free screen recorder, or you could use something like Acrobat Connect for desktop sharing. And I'll leave you with this. I created with a spreadsheet method earthquakes over the last 2 years. Icon size and duration is driven by the magnitude of the earthquake. So take that information and run with it. Good luck.